Okay, class. Next topic. Okay, so another financial reporting framework. So this time, accounting for small entities. Okay, as discussed earlier. Okay, so again, ito yung definition of financial reporting framework in accordance with the revised Securities Regulation Code Rule 68. Okay, so tapos na nating i-discuss yung full PFRS and PFRS for SMEs. So this time, okay, the PFRS for small entities. Okay, so again as mentioned previously, before magkasama yung small and medium, pero effective January 1, 2019, na-split na yung small kay medium. Okay, so at meron na ngang bagong financial reporting framework which is the PFRS for small entities. Okay, at yung PFRS for small entities na yan, pwede rin gamitin yan actually ng micro entities. Okay, so actually dahil nga relatively new itong topic na ito, okay, so hindi pa ito naibigay nung October 2019 examination. Okay, although pwede na simula October 2019 pwede nang ibigay yan eh. Okay, so hindi pa rin ito natanong nung last two exams. Okay, October and December 2021. Okay, so pero baka itong May 2022, baka magtanong na. Okay, related to small entities. Okay, and as discussed earlier, okay, bakit nga ba muna, okay, kinailangan pa or release pa ng bagong framework, okay, yung separate framework para dito sa small entities. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, yung Securities and Exchange Commission or the SEC has issued Memorandum Circular Number 5 Series of 2018 adopting as part of its financial reporting rules and regulations the PFRS, okay, for small entities. Now, this is in line with the corporate regulators. Okay, ang sagot dyan, Delta. Okay, ito yung ease of doing business initiatives. So ito yung actually RA, okay, 11032. Okay, so actually yung ease of doing business na yan, okay, so ang World Bank nagpapublish yan yearly ng ranking. Okay, and trivia, yung RA 11032 na yan, kasama rin yan sa inyong RFBT. Okay, so yung ease of doing business. Okay, and yun nga, nung nakaraang exam actually, merong natanong, okay, tungkol dyan sa ranking ng Philippines, dyan sa ease of doing business, Okay, and ito yon trivia. Yan, ito naitanong ito one time sa RFBT. So in the last examination lang. Okay, so yung Philippines, okay, obtained the following ranking in World Bank's ease of doing business. So yearly ito. Kaya lang ang latest ranking, okay, issued in 2020. And noong 2020, tayo ay pang 95th. So yan ang ranking ng Philippines in 2020. Prior to that, okay, 2019, that's 124th. So notice, kailan naging effective itong PFRS for small entities? January 1, 2019. So malaki yung ginamp, ano? Okay, from 124 naging 95. Okay? So and also maraming ang initiatives na ginawa. Okay, ang SEC para ito mapabili bukod sa SEC, yung other government agencies din, okay, may mga steps na ginawa para ma-improve pa, okay, yung ease of doing business in the Philippines. So kaya kitang-kita naman from 124 to naging 95th. So in 2018, that's actually 113th. Okay, tapos nung 2017, yan, 99. So notice no, 99, naging 113, naging 124, pababa ng pababa. Then eventually nag-bounce back, 95th na. Okay? So ayan ha, ito parang naitanong yata doon sa RFBT yan, either to 2018 or 2019. So may mga ganyang question trivia. Kasi normally bago doon sa, okay, kumbaga rationale, bakit kinreate yung law, pinapaliwanag doon So yan, so i-discuss nyo ito, yung law na yan sa RFBT. Okay, so trivia lang, yung ranking na yan. Kaya lang, anong petsa na, di ba 2022 na, bakit wala pa yung 2021? Okay, actually, diniscontinue na ng World Bank yung report na yan. So may bago nang ipapalit dyan ang World Bank. Ito na yung BEE. Okay, so yung Business Enabling Environment. So kaya lang wala pa yung maiden report na yan Okay, so kaya parang ito na yung last na report ng World Bank regarding ease of doing business. So may bago na silang ipapalit yung Business Enabling Environment or BEE. Yan. Okay, so yan So yan yung background kaya nagkaroon ng PFRS for small entities. Pero actually itong PFRS for small entities na ito ay initiative ng ACPAP, yung Association of CPAs in Public Practice. Okay, so nung dinevelop ito ng ACPAP, of course, pinresent sa FRSC being the standard setting body. Tapos yun nga, na-approve ng PRC, okay, BOA, and then ito na, inadapt na ng SEC. And as defined, okay, in the SEC memorandum, ano ba itong small entities? So as discussed previously, ito yung 4 categories of entities according to size. Okay, so again, size matters yan for financial reporting purposes. Okay, and in relation to small entities, okay, number 2. In accordance with SEC Memorandum Circular number 5, series of 2018, small entities are those that, ang sagot dyan, letter A. Okay, in terms of size, have total assets of between 3 million to 100 million or total liabilities of between 3 million to 100 million. So notice, same yung floor and ceiling thresholds. Hindi katulad ng medium-sized entities, magkaiba ng ceiling. Okay, so ang ceiling sa medium-size for assets, 350 million. Tapos ang liabilities, okay, 250 million. Pero pareho ng floor, 100 million. So again before, okay, so iisa lang yung small and medium size. So ngayon, starting January 1, 2019, separate na yung small sa medium. So notice, as discussed earlier, yung number 2, 3, and 4, characteristics kasi ito ng public yan. Public interest entities. Okay, so ang small entity, katulad ng medium-sized entity, dapat not required to file FS under Part 2 of SRC Rule 68. So generally, required yan sa mga listed entities. Not in the process of listing. So hindi nagpa-process pa currently ng papers para sa initial public offering. And not holders of secondary licenses. So yun nga, yung mga holders ng secondary licenses na yan, generally, mga bangko yan, insurance companies, and other financial institutions. At yung mga yun, securities dealers. Okay? So yung number 2, 3, and 4, common characteristics actually yan ng ME, ng SE, at ng micro entities. So ang common sa tatlo na ito, hindi sila public interest entities. At yung 2, 3, and 4 nga na yan, characteristics kasi yan ng public interest entities. Okay? So again, number 2, letter A. So in relation nga to that, number 3, which of the following is a common characteristic of medium-sized, small, and micro entities? So ang sagot dyan, delta. Hindi sila public interest entity. Okay, so meaning yan, not required to file FS under Part 2 of SRC Rule 68, not in the process of filing their FS for the purpose of issuing any class of instruments in a public market, and not holders of secondary licenses. So yung A, B, and C, yan yung characteristics naman ng public interest entity. And again yung public interest entities, dati ang tawag publicly accountable entities. And sa ngayon meron ng separate definition ang large at ang public interest entities. Ang large simply based on size. So yung public interest entities naman based on characteristics. Okay, so number 3, delta. Number 4, again, as noted previously, sa ating discussion ng medium-sized entities, ito ulit yung public interest entities. Yan. Okay. Next. Again, the Philippine Financial Reporting Framework Summary. So based on that, number 4, an entity with total assets of below 3 million. So kapag below 3 million, ayun. Okay, micro na ang tawag dyan. At kapag micro entity nga, merong option to use either the PFRS for small entities or income tax basis of accounting. Okay, so for delta. Number 5, which of the following shall, mandatory shall apply the PFRS for small entities? A, B, C, no. Okay, these are what? Holders of secondary license. So kapag holders of secondary license, kay public interest entities yan. So required dyan ang full PFRS. So answer, delta. A non-publicly accountable entity or a non-public interest entity with total liabilities of 3 million. Ayan. So pasok dun sa floor threshold. Okay, so 5, delta. Okay, number 6. Small entities who have operations or investments that are based or conducted in a different country with a different functional currency should apply. So although a small entity siya by definition, pero kung ganyan ang situation, no choice. Kailangan i-apply ng entity dyan either okay, A or B. So, full PFRS or yung PFRS for small entities. Kasi nga naman, kahit na small entity siya as defined, meron siyang operations or investments na ang based ay na based or conducted dun sa different country with different functional currency. So, in that case, either A or B ang required na gamitin. Okay, now, although SME, pwede bang ma-exempt sa paggamit ng PFRS for small entities katulad ng sa ME? Okay, ang sagot, yes. Kaya lang, unlike sa SMEs, unlike sa medium-sized entities na 8 yung exemptions, dito sa SE, 6 lang. Okay, yung optional exemption. Okay, so itong actually, pag sinama mo itong number 6, bali 7. Kaya lang yung number 6 kasi, hindi siya optional eh, mandatory na kahit na small entity siya, kailangan ang i-apply niya yung either full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs. Okay? So, ano yung mga exemptions? Okay, number 7. The following SEs shall be exempt from the mandatory adoption of the PFRS for SEs and may, so optional instead apply as appropriate, full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs. So kahit na small entity siya, pwede niyang gamitin either of the two. Okay, so anong kasama dyan? Ayan. Letter A, small entity nga siya, pero subsidiary naman siya ng isang parent reporting under the full PFRS or PFRS for small and medium-sized entities. So in that case, kahit pa small entity siya, pwede niyang gamitin either of the two for consolidation purposes. Also, letter B, a small entity which is a subsidiary of a foreign parent company which will be moving towards IFRS or IFRS for SMEs pursuant to the foreign countries is published convergence plan. So eventually, yung foreign parent na ito, ang gagamitin na full IFRS or IFRS for SMEs. So para again, ma-facilitate nga yung sa consolidation, so pwedeng optional, either full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs. Okay, letter C. A small entity, either as a significant joint venture or associate, is part of a group that is reporting under full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs. So yung exemptions na yan, similar dun sa exemptions from applying PFRS for SMEs. Okay, so except, ang hindi kasama dyan, delta. A small entity that has a short-term projection that show that it will breach the quantitative threshold set in the criteria for a small entity. The breach is expected to be significant and continuing. Kasi kung not expected to be significant and continuing, then the entity may continue to use PFRS for SEs. Okay, so 7, delta. As I mentioned earlier, there are a total of 6 optional exemptions. So kung gusto ng entity, PFRS for SE, okay naman. Kung ayaw, pwedeng either full or PFRS for SMEs. So 4 na yan. Ano pa yung dalawa? Okay, that's number 8. Okay, which of the following small entities may apply the full PFRS or yung PFRS for SMEs? Okay, so kasama dyan, letter C. Both A and B. So A, a small entity which is a branch office or regional operating headquarter of a foreign company. Okay, tapos yung foreign company na yon reporting under full IFRS or IFRS for SMEs. Okay, also letter B, a small entity siya which has been preparing FS using full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs and yun na, nag-decide na mag-liquidate. So wag nang mag-change ng financial reporting framework. So tuloy na lang gamitin kung ano yung existing. Okay? So yan yung 6 exemptions from the mandatory adoption of the PFRS for small entities. Okay, now in relation to the breach of the quantitative thresholds, okay, kailan masasabi na yung breach ay significant and continuing? So, number 9. Okay, 20% or more is considered significant. So, anong basis? Total assets, total liabilities, or both? Okay, so for small entities, ang basis lang, letter A. Consolidated total assets lang. So as noted earlier, lagyan natin ng note, sa medium-sized entities, okay, either A or B. Okay, ang basis. Pero ang small entity, ang naka-specify lang, letter A. Okay, so 20% or more of the consolidated total assets. Okay, so 9, letter A. Okay, and yun nga, in case ma-breach either yung ceiling or yung floor, okay, so paano yung transition dyan? Okay, so if a small entity that uses the PFRS for SEs in a current year breaches the floor, so kung ang na-breach ay floor, magiging micro entity. Kung ang na-breach naman ay ceiling, magiging medium-sized entity. Okay, so in the event that caused the change is not considered significant and continuing. Nag-breach nga pero hindi naman pala significant and continuing. So the entity can continue to use the same financial reporting framework. So answer, delta. So can continue to use the same financial reporting framework it currently uses. Kasi hindi naman considered na significant and continuing yung breach. Eh paano nga kung yan ay considered significant and continuing, then transition to the applicable financial reporting framework in the next accounting period. So lagyan natin ng note ha. Ito yung answer kung yan ay considered okay, significant and continuing. So transition to the applicable financial reporting framework in the next accounting period. So yung change in framework is applied prospectively. Okay, at yun nga, kung from PFRS for SE, naging SME siya, okay, so i-apply yung section 35 of the PFRS for SMEs. Okay, so 10 delta. Okay, so the development of the PFRS for small entities. Again, as noted earlier, so ito ay inadopt ng SEC as part of its ease of doing business initiatives. Pero bakit nga ba okay, naisipan pa ng another framework? Okay, so ito yung development. So yung full PFRSs, okay, considered yan to be complicated. So para nga ma-simplify yung full IFRS, okay, gumawa ng project ang IASB na i-simplify yung accounting requirements. At yung IFRS for SMEs nga na yan, inadapt natin in the Philippines as PFRS for SMEs. Okay, so considered siya as the simplified version of the full PFRSs. So kaya lang, pag tinignan mo actually yung PFRS for SMEs, okay, simplified na pero it appears marami pa rin complicated portion. So yung mga small entities nahihirapan actually i-apply yan. Okay, so kaya for practical purposes, ito ngang ACPAP, okay, so nag-develop sila ng create sila ng project to develop PFRS for small entities. Okay, so yun nga, yung na-develop na yan ni ACPAP, pinresent sa FRSC, inapprove naman ng FRSC at yun, finorward sa PRC BOA, na-approve naman ng PRC BOA at inadapt na nga okay, ng SEC in its SEC memo. Okay, at dahil simplified na itong PFRS for SMEs, so itong PFRS for SEs considered as more simplified. Okay, kaya ang pag-aaral ng tatlong framework na yan, dito ka muna mag-start. Pag alam mo na yung full PFRSs, madali mo nang may compare yan sa SMEs. Kasi itong PFRS for SMEs, galing lang dito yan. Modified lang. Yun nga, considering yung kung ano ba yung relevant at not relevant sa SMEs. At yun nga, cost-benefit consideration. Okay. So, yun namang PFRS for SEs, ang naging starting point niyan is this one. Yung PFRS for SMEs. Kaya dapat, ang ma-highlight natin dito, yung kaibahan ng SE doon kay SME. Kasi na-highlight na natin kanina, yung PFRS for SMEs versus full. So ngayon, ito ang magiging highlight natin. Kasi dito galing sa PFRS for SMEs, itong PFRS for SEs. Yun nga lang, modified. Okay? To be more simplified. Yan. Okay, and ano nga yung mga dahilan? Bakit nag-create pa ng PFRS for SEs? Yan, that's number 11. The PFRS for small entities was developed in response to feedback of small entities that PFRS for SMEs is too complex to apply. So the PFRS for SEs allows small entities to comply with financial reporting requirements without undue cost or burden. So again, this is part of ease of doing business initiatives. So how? Paano naging more simplified yung PFRS for SEs na yan? So kasama dyan, letter A. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so number 1, reducing choices for accounting treatment. Okay, number 2, eliminating topics that are not relevant generally to small entities. Okay, number 3, simplifying methods for recognition and measurement and reducing disclosure requirements. Okay, so yan yung mga naging simplifications para yung simplified na naging more simplified. Okay, so 11, letter A. And in relation to the simplifications, okay, number 12. So in general muna, okay, simplifications introduced by the PFRS for SEs include, yan, letter A. Entities are given a policy choice of not recognizing deferred taxes in the FS. So, pwedeng i-ignore yung temporary differences. So, pwedeng wag mag-recognize ng deferred taxes. Okay? O, diba? So, talagang kitang-kita mo dyan yung simplification. Okay, letter B. Prior period adjustments are just captured in the opening balance of the current year, but with appropriate disclosures. Diba, ang mga prior period adjustments, nangangailangan dyan ng restatement of comparative figures. So, sa SE, no need. Okay, so instead na mag-restate pa ng FS, yung cumulative effect, okay, yung prior period adjustments na yan, adjustment na lang sa beginning balance ng retained earnings or other equity components as appropriate. So another simplification, yung sa employee benefits, yung defined benefit plans, hindi required gumamit ng projected unit credit method. So instead, an entity is required to use accrual approach. Tapos define, okay, dyan sa standard kung ano yung accrual approach na yan. In calculating benefit obligations in accordance with RA 7641 or the Philippine Retirement Pay Law or company policy. So pwedeng accrual approach considering RA 7641 or company policy kung yan ay superior than the retirement pay law. Okay, so number 12, delta. Those are some of the simplifications introduced. So accounting for deferred taxes, accounting for prior period errors, and yung accounting for defined benefit plans. Okay, so 12 delta. 13. Okay, so yung mga omitted topics na generally not relevant, yung mga topics na hindi relevant, inomit. Okay, yun nga yung mga choices sa accounting treatment, reduced. So yung recognition and measurement, more simplified. Tapos nabawasan ang disclosures. So in relation to the topics, which of the following topics in P, again ha, itong magiging comparison natin. Kasi ang starting point sa pag-develop dito sa PFRS for SEs ay itong PFRS for SMEs. Okay, and which of the following topics in this one, in the PFRS for SMEs, apply to small entities? A, no. Okay, ang small entity, walang finance lease concept. So lahat ng leases, okay, operating. So there is no finance lease concept. So again, simplified. So diyan naman sa finance lease na yan ang complicated. So walang finance lease ang SE. Wala ding accounting for onerous contracts. Okay, so yung sa mga purchase commitments and other onerous contracts. Okay, pero may hedge accounting pa rin. So number 13, letter C. Okay, so kahit na small o kaya medium size, applicable pa rin ang hedge accounting. Okay, so 13, letter C. Now, in relation to other comprehensive income items, okay, so the items of OCI of small entities include, ang sagot dyan, delta. Ang small entities, walang OCIs. Okay, incidentally, yung 1, 2, 3, and 4, yan yung mga OCIs ng medium-sized entities. Okay, so again ha, yung 1, 2, 3, and 4, OCIs yan under PFRS for SMEs, but not SEs. So ang small entities, okay, walang OCI. Lahat ng income and expenses, profit or loss. No OCI. Okay, so again ha, considering yung development nga ng PFRS for small entities, ito yung naging starting point. Tapos yon, considering cost-benefit constraints, yan. Okay, so nagkaroon ng simplifications. At ito yung naging simplifications. Okay, and with these simplifications, it is believed that financial reporting requirements, or rather the small entities, can now comply with financial reporting requirements without undue cost or burden. Okay. Now, here's the table of, here's the FAR syllabus. So, just to clarify ha, kung saan papasok uli yung topic na small entities. Up to May 2022, okay, hindi pa nakahiwala yung small and medium size. Pero separate pa na yung micro at that time. Again, ang emphasis dito, more on the reporting requirements, peculiarities, and yung principles for reporting investments in equity and debt securities. Okay, so hindi pa naisama dyan sa May 2019 na kaya syllabus yung tungkol sa small entities. So kasama pa siya dun sa small and medium. Pero effective October 2022, yun na, nakaseparate na yung small entity. So siguro, ito rin ang dahilan kung bakit hindi pa nagtatanong sa small entities. Okay? Kasi nga, hindi pa kasama dito specifically. So ngayon, dahil in-specify na yung other reporting framework, so pwede nang magtanong tungkol sa small entities. So possibly, yan ha. So beginning October 2022, meron na. So pwede rin naman magbigay na rin sa May 2022 kasi effective na eh. Kasama na yung kay PFRS for small entities na yan. So nakaano na yan okay, effective na yan eh at the time of examination. So nag-start nga siya, naging effective January 1, 2019. Okay, and again, nasa ng focus natin? Peculiarities, kung kailan i-apply, and ano yung salient differences. So, ang i-compare na natin this time, yun ang PFRS for SEs at yung PFRS for SMEs. Since yun nga, nung dinevelop yung SE, ang naging starting point ng ACPAP dyan yung PFRS for small and medium-sized entities. Okay? At ano yung mga significant differences na yan? Okay? So, ito yung structure ng standard. So, notice, ang PFRS for SMEs, there are 35 sections. So, ang SE, 29 lang. So, may mga topics actually na kinonsolidate yan. Okay, yung FS presentation, pinagsama na yung section 3 hanggang 8. So, isang section lang sa SE. Okay, tapos may mga topics na inumit. In particular, walang section para sa hyperinflation kasi nga naman, kung yan ay small entity, malamang nag-ooperate lang yan only in the Philippines. Eh, currently naman, hindi naman tayo hyperinflationary economy. So wala din yung exploration and evaluation of mineral resources. Kasi kung engaged dyan ang entity, unlikely na small entity yan. So wala ding service, concession arrangement. So kasi kung engaged dyan ang entity, unlikely naman na small entity yan. Okay, so kaya yung mga topics na yan na nasa PFRS for SMEs, hindi na isinama sa PFRS for small entities. Okay, and again, okay, dito sa ating material, ang highlight natin dyan, yung i-discuss natin, the significant differences. At ano nga yung significant differences na yan? Pag-usapan natin after a short break.